Benjamin Harmon with Benjamin Harmon Outdoors here. I'm very sweaty. This is how I stay alive while camping in freezing temperatures. I have a visitor. Oh, I hope we don't use this one. Did we forget that this shoot was all about you? Yes, we did. I'm sorry. We won't do that again. Best place to start is on the bottom with your sleeping pad. You see, sleeping pads are just as important as sleeping bags for reasons that are twofold. Firstly, the bottom layer is much less thickly insulated than the top layer. They can get a lot more R value out of a very small package when compressed in a sleeping pad than they can out of compressing straight insulation in the bottom. That's why this is no more than 1 inch thick, whereas this is roughly 2.5 inches thick. The second reason is that ground that you're sleeping on is frozen solid. That frozen ground is just going to be pulling the heat straight out of the sleeping bag and straight out of you if you don't have that layer in between you. I don't understand the science here. Someone much smarter than me once explained it to me. Insulation is good for more than one reason. My wife behind the camera just gave me a science tip. Apparently, your body attempts to warm up all the space that it can around you. Through conduction, sweetheart? Yeah. Through conduction. So, as a result, you're going to send all your heat into the ground in an attempt to warm up the earth. You're going to lose all your body heat to that frigid ground. See, that's a new type of global warming. So the way in which I choose a sleeping pad is fairly simple. How much room do I have in my pack? How much room do I want between me and the ground? How much room do I want between my shoulders or from my shoulders out? There's another important facet you need to consider when choosing your sleeping pad, and that is how waterproof it is. Now, most of these pads that come out now from the big companies like Big Agnes have nice waterproof edging to it and come with some sort of internal coating that keeps it from getting moisture inside and that freezing. That will prevent your sleeping pad from getting damaged when it's damp and will prevent it from freezing solid underneath you when you're trying to camp. Another piece to keeping your sleeping pad dry is having an inflation bag. When you're out in the cold and you're blowing air into your sleeping pad with your mouth, your breath has a lot of moisture in it. When that moisture in it gets into the sleeping pad, no matter how good your coating is on the inside, more often than not, you're going to have water molecules cling to the insulation, freeze solid, and then make your pad quite a bit colder than it needs to be, or at the very least, quite a bit wetter than it needs to be. The solution to this is an inflation bag. This one, you just clip it in right here. The most important part is the R value. R value is a numerical number to assign a level of insulation or the level of heat that can be withheld by the sleeping pad. This is a sleeping pad with an R value of about 4.3, about 3.8. You need, once you're getting sub-zero Celsius, you need a minimum R value of 4, and you want to go as high as you can go comfortably. All right, next up is sleeping bags. First things first, let's cover down. Down has a really big upside in the sense that it is incredibly efficient for the amount of heat it can retain as far as its R value and the amount of space it takes up in your pack. It is probably the go-to for most hikers and campers for that very reason. However, there are two main downsides. The two downsides are when they get wet on the inside, if they don't have a hydrophobic coating, which is rare, but if they don't have a hydrophobic coating, they are just going to be damp through and through, and you will probably get quite cold that night. Once they get cold, you're cold. The next most important thing that is a big drawback is the price point. Most down sleeping bags are very, very pricey. And for me, that's the main reason why I don't have any. I don't have the ability to go drop $400 on a sleeping bag and tell my wife that I didn't do that. I prefer full synthetic due to their price point. They're much more affordable and they're much more readily available to people in the industry. I use it for my main winter bags, my light and thin summer bags, which also work as winter liners. I use them for my fall/winter sleeping bags. I also use them for my extreme winter sleeping bags. Now, when choosing your sleeping bag, it's important to choose based on whether or not you are a back sleeper or a side sleeper. If you are a back sleeper, you are going to do just fine in any old mummy bag. If you do get on your side in a mummy bag and you're a side sleeper, you tend to raise this ever so slightly off the sleeping pad. That does decrease the amount of insulation that's there because the sleeping pad is no longer making contact. So you have that air running under your sleeping bag where it wouldn't have usually. So let's talk about situations where I didn't fully think things through, didn't check the weather schedule. I planned for -20, -30, and it's creeping below that. Now I'm gonna be cold. I'll take a water bottle like this, fill it up with very warm, hot water that I've just boiled on the wood stove or on the fire, and I'll throw it in the foot of my sleeping bag. That'll keep it warm through the night. I'll also try and eat something before I go to bed, so that way my metabolism's warm and I'll be breaking down that food as I sleep. Another thing that I'm a huge stickler about is the interior material and design. This one has a very nice plaid design, but most importantly, it's a soft touch, non-snag material. I believe it's taffeta. It becomes very important that you enjoy the material that you're on, that it doesn't get snagged on your socks and create little pieces and catches. Another important thing to mention is the draft tube. This runs along the zipper, and when it's all zipped up, actually prevents wind from running into your sleeping bag or drafting into your sleeping bag and cooling you off. Another thing that this is one of my only sleeping bags that has it is this hood zip, that instead of just having the pull cord on the hood, you also have one that goes around your shoulders, and that way you can have a different temp for your head than your body. Reason being is that you'll often have gaps around your head when it's all zipped up that you can't control. So this is a very nice luxury. Obviously not a necessity for me, but it's good to have. Hi, thank you for tuning in to watch this. I hope you guys found it very informative. If you like this content, you can go to our channel where we try to make videos like this every 2 weeks and upload regularly. Thank you for watching and have yourselves a good 2 weeks. I'll see you then.